Welcome back to another episode of the Be Better podcast. My name is Harrison Orr. I am your host. I am a dual business owner, a husband, a father to a 1-year-old son. I am always running around and I get asked this question all the freaking time. It's like, dude, how do you have so much energy? How are you always go, go, go? Like, are you not tired? Are you not burning out? Like, are you about to just have a seizure and like die? Like, which is relevant to me because I have epilepsy. But I get this all the time. Like, my wife has this running joke that I have Tourette's because if I sit still for too long, or the days that I don't train, I almost get these twitches of like I need to do something. I can't just sit still. Maybe that's a condition, maybe it's not, but we'll find out in time. And of all the people that I speak to, one of the biggest issues or the number one thing a lot of people want to solve is having more energy, which is like super evident in the popularity of coffee, of pre-workouts, of energy drinks, of all those things, of people just wanting more energy because either they don't have enough energy to get through the day or they want that energy to feel good doing the shit that they don't really want to do, right? And so I wanted to run you through some of the things that I'm personally doing and that I do with my clients to help them have optimal energy so that you can smash through the day and that energy is not your limiting factor in being the person living the life that you want to live, right? And so the first thing that I think we always need to address in anything, and I think this is the fastest route to becoming better, like getting results faster in any capacity in life, in any area, is number one, stop doing the things making you worse. Stop doing the things slowing us down. So if you're trying to save money in the finances or like personal or in business, stop spending it on dumb shit. If you're trying to lose weight, stop eating so much trash. If you're trying to have more energy, stop doing the things slowing you down. Which I know for a lot of people, that's not an obvious answer, right? Which I'm going to break it down for you. And so first of all, when we look at where does energy come from? Like where does our body actually get energy? And hint, it's something that you're going to do for a third of your entire life. And if you're not doing it very well, your energy is going to be trash, along with your hormones, along with your ability to lose weight, along with your sex drive, along with like literally everything else in life. And that's your sleep, right? If your sleep is not good, I highly recommend fixing that first. Either talk to myself, talk to another coach or an expert or someone else that can help you to address that. Instead of taking supplements for brain fog, for energy, for focus, for all these things, whilst they can be helpful, and I would be a hypocrite to say that they're not helpful because, obviously Primal has a few of those, but my first recommendation to anyone that says, hey, I want to have better brain function, hey, I want to have more energy, is not, here, take this supplement, even though I could easily quite just push my supplements. I say, well, how's your sleep? What's your sleep like? How do you feel when you wake up? How many hours are you getting? How do you feel when you wake up? How many times do you wake up throughout the night? Because when you maximize your sleep, not only is your energy going to improve, your desire to snack and crave dopamine, like those cheap hits, whether it's in the form of sugar or alcohol or drugs or porn or some other cheap, online shopping, some cheap quick fix that you don't have to earn, that will go down. So you'll be able to be more disciplined. You'll have more willpower. When you've got more energy, you have more sex drive. Women, every hour of sleep extra they get, their libido, their sex drive increases by 13%. 13%. The female version of Viagra increases by roughly 22 to 23%. So you can get half of that improvement, 100% natural, 100% free, just by getting an extra hour of sleep. So ladies, if you want more sex drive, get more sleep. Men, if you want your wife or your partner to have more sex drive, help her to get more sleep. Help do the dishes and help clean up and get everything ready for the next day at night so you guys can get into bed earlier. Look after things around the house so it's a team effort so she can get more sleep, so you can both get more sleep. And guys, if you're not waking up hard majority of the mornings, that's a sign that you're probably not getting enough sleep and your hormones, especially testosterone, aren't as optimal as they could be. And so, first of all, like I said, for your energy, fixing your sleep, that's going to be number one. Second of all, look at the other things draining your sleep. So this ties into sleep and the nervous system, which I talk about a hell of a lot, is stress, right? Stress is going to be one of the biggest drainers of energy ever. How often have you had a day where you felt very stressed, very anxious, very overwhelmed, and so much. Even though you haven't done much physically, emotionally and mentally, you've been here, there, and all over the place, overthinking the shit out of everything. And you get to the end of the day, and like maybe you've done 5,000 steps, but you feel mentally exhausted. Yeah, that stuff is draining. And so a lot of people will mistake that mental fatigue for physical fatigue, and then either not go and train, not go and do the physical activity that they said they would, or need to rely on pre-workouts and over caffeination to get them through that, which then keeps them up at night, ruins their sleep, and then fuels that horrible cycle. So managing your stress, right? I'm a big advocate for looking at what is stressing you out and reframing it, because nothing in life exactly is the problem, but it's how we perceive it. Because whether something is, we deem it as being good, as bad, as stressful, as exciting, as whatever, it doesn't change the thing itself, right? A bill that we owe, our mortgage, is just a mortgage. It's just some numbers that we owe the bank. It's not good, it's not bad, but we have this emotional attachment to that bill, right? To that number, to that money. And so that determines how we feel and consequently how we respond and act towards it. And so naturally, if there's these things that you feel stressed out about, that you feel negatively about, and have that emotional experience, you're much less likely to actually take action towards that thing, even to solve that problem, even to make progress in that area. So if we can find a way to reframe that, even at least just to neutralize that situation, that event, that circumstance, so that we can start taking action on it to resolve it, then it can start to alleviate a lot of that stress. That's one way, right? Second way, and this is by far the easiest, is just to decide that, well, that's the way it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. Because a lot of things people stress about, there is nothing that they can do about it, right? There are so many things in the world, like other people, like the government, like the weather, like all these things that you cannot do anything about. Even if it's your partner, even if it's your kid, even if it's all these things, maybe you can influence them, but you can't directly control them. When you zoom all the way in and like you realize what you personally can actually control, there is very little. You can control your emotions, you can control your own body, your own words, your own actions. Some people would argue with me, say you can't control your own thoughts, but I say that's something you should definitely work on, because you live in that space 24/7 till you die. So if you're not in control up there, that's a little bit concerning. So work on that. Use meditation, use mental resilience tactics to be able to control that so it's in your favor. You're not battling with yourself. But work on that, right? And I don't say this to beat you down or to highlight that there's nothing you can do about anything, so give up and just go with the flow and whatever else. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying focus your resources, being your mental capacity, your energy, your time, your money, if you need to, on solving the things that you can control, right? And some things, they might be half-half. You might say, well, I can go to this point, I can do as much as I can, and that will get me to here, but beyond that, that's as much as I can do. Awesome. I guarantee you, if you take action up until as much, like that point, up until as much as you can, you will feel a hell of a lot better about yourself. And so start to take action on those things, because things like breath work or meditation or journaling, all that stuff, they can be helpful to calm your emotions down in the short term. But unless you then start to take action on those things or decide that that's not a problem or like actually change something else, then as soon as you go back to that person, that situation, that whatever it was that was stressing you out, the stress is just going to go straight back through the roof. So you need to use those modalities to calm yourself, to think logically and less emotionally, and then take action on something to actually change the situation, so you've got more information, you've got more feedback about moving forward. You're not just still going in this freaking cycle, right? So back to energy. Nailing your sleep, looking after your stress. So they're your two big factors when it comes to like your nervous system, right? And then other things slowing us down. Stimulants. You might think, well, they pick me up. Maybe, but if you're having too many stimulants, I don't care what they are, I would classify sugar as a stimulant. Too much sugar, too much caffeine, too much pre-workout, too much cocaine is not good for you, if you haven't heard. Like any of those things, because they provide this sharp spike in, depending on the substance, something in your brain and body. And what happens after a spike? What goes up must come down, and so you come straight back down. And then what happens next? you look for something else to go straight back up. And then so your brain and your body and your energy levels and everything is going up and down artificially because of those things. And that's freaking exhausting. And it's not that great for you either. And so looking at those things that we use, sometimes it's sugar, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's coffee, sometimes it's like pre-workout or drugs if you're into that. Like, I highly recommend doing a detox from those and seeing how reliant on those you are for that energy. And just as a bit of a disclaimer, especially with brain juice, a lot of people say like, "Oh, you must hate coffee because you're full on brain juice and anti-coffee, all that stuff." No, not at all. I still love a cup of coffee, but I implore everyone to at least take a break every few months to make sure that you are having or enjoying your coffee because you like it, not because you need it. Doesn't matter if it's coffee, if it's brain juice, if it's any of those other things. If you're needing that because you can't think straight without it, you don't have energy without it, you can't perform without it, you can't start your day without it, or anything like that, then that's probably not a good dependence to have. And then so, again, going back to the root cause, why? Why do you feel that you need that? Chances are your sleep is trash. That would be number one. When you optimize your health as a whole, a lot of these things take care of themselves. And then you can have your brain juice or your coffee because you like it, not because you need it. Cool? And then so another thing that can ruin our energy is not moving enough, right? When you sit down, when we're not active, especially when we're stuck inside all day under artificial lights, we're not getting the bright sun, not getting the benefits of the sun like the vitamin D plus all the other neurotransmitter benefits that come with it, the increase in serotonin, feel good vibes, all that stuff, then you're going to feel very like stale, right? Because you're in the same environment, you have stale air, you have artificial light, and you're not moving very often. Like, I know personally, on the days that I don't move, I feel sluggish, I feel gross, I don't feel very good. And that's my reminder, my cue, that even though I might feel like I don't have time to go for a walk, to go sit in the sun for 20 minutes, to go sit on the bike, to go train, to go do whatever, that I'm going to be much better off if I do. Because even though it might take time out of my day to go and execute those things, afterwards I'm going to feel mentally clearer, I'm going to be in a better mood, I'm going to have more energy to then execute on the things that I need to do later in the day. So my chance of getting that done and not procrastinating, using social media, using other devices because I don't want to do the hard work, I'm just like, is much lower. Right? Sorry, it's much higher that I don't want to do those things if I have exercised and done that stuff. Right? Like today, I haven't trained because I've had a fair bit on. I've started coaching at the yard gym and it's 2:30 in the afternoon and I've done over 21,000 steps. Right? Pretty active. And I feel fucking awesome, even though I haven't trained. And so I've been in spaces where I've been solely online working. I've been in other times in my life where I've done face-to-face PT and chefing. Again, and this would be a normal day. 20 to 25,000 steps a day was like an average day. And I can 100% say without a single doubt that my body and my energy and my mind is so much better, so much clearer, so much more energized when I'm moving. And I even have feedback from my masseuse. When I was in that transition, my body was so much more jacked up and tight from sitting for 8 hours plus a day at a desk compared to when I was moving that much. When I'm moving around weights, when I'm running around a kitchen, when I'm doing those 20,000 steps, my body was moving as it should. It wasn't jacked up, it wasn't tight. Muscles that weren't supposed to be overactive or weakened and things like that weren't doing that. And my body was functioning so much better. So I highly recommend putting an emphasis on that movement, on that steps in your day. Make it fun. Make it something that you enjoy. If you don't like going for a walk, go around your area. Go for a nicer area. Go to the national park. Go to the beach. If you don't like walking, get on a bike. Go row something. Go get a kayak in summer. Do something else like that. Find a way. Go rock climbing. Go ice skating. Do something to be active. Right? Awesome. Next one. So we've gone through sleep. We've gone through stress. We've gone through the lack of movement. Another one that causes a lot of people to crash is their diet. Their diet is not supportive of stable energy and it's very, very snacky, very short, sharp spikes of insulin, of sugars, of carbs, which again keeps them on that up, down, up, down, up, down cycle, right? And so for a lot of people, you will be much better off, actually, other than putting athletes to the side for a second, I'm talking like just general pops like most of us here, I have not found anyone that doesn't function better of starting their day with no carbs, just protein and fats. High amounts of both, your energy will be more stable, you will feel fuller for longer, you won't have cravings as well, provided they're obviously quality sources. Save your carbs for either around your training or later in the day. It will help you so much. And so, something else worth looking at is when this will help you diagnose as well what is the cause of your lack of energy. If you have a lack of energy, mid-morning or like earlier in the day, probably sleep related. If it's later in the day, around that 2 to 3 p.m. mark, here's what's probably going on. So, first of all, there is naturally a lull in our energy, in our focus, in those things at that time of day, because we just don't have steady levels of hormones, of like energy, of mental stability, of creativity, of all these things in our body at all times. It just doesn't happen. So we go in like waves, right? So when we wake up, we're on the upward trend. Usually 90 minutes roughly after we've woken up is when we hit that first peak. That will last for an hour or two, and then we start to dip back down. And that lull, that next lull is around that 2 to 3 p.m. and that lasts again 90 minutes ish, and then we come back up for one more peak in the day, and then we trail off and go off to sleep. And so when we know that, we can work around that. Try not to have any highly demanding tasks around that time of the day is ideal, right? Schedule maybe responding to emails, maybe doing some boring admin work, something that doesn't require a lot of brain power, right? Having an interview or a big meeting at that time is probably not your best idea. And so when we recognize that that's a time in the day where we naturally have that lull, keep in mind it should be a lull. If you feel like you're hitting a fucking brick wall and your eyes are hanging out of your head and you can barely stare at the screen, you can barely listen to someone that's talking to you, and you're like, oh, I'm zoning out, I'm falling asleep, like I'm gone. Okay, shouldn't be that sharp of a crash. And so then we can look at a few things. One, potentially caffeine. If we've had caffeine too early in the day, that caffeine binds to the adenosine receptors in our brain, which stop our brain from feeling tired. That's how caffeine essentially wakes us up. It stops us from feeling tired. Around 8 hours after that caffeine is ingested, the half-life starts to wear off, and that's usually around that time as well. So all those adenosine receptors that were all that adenosine that has built up, hasn't had a receptor to bind to, is now available, and then has now latched onto those receptors, and then you now feel this overwhelming sense of lethargy, of tired, of needing a nap, right? That could be one cause. And so just wait 60, 90 minutes after you wake up to have your first coffee, if that's you. Next is if you've had a big lunch, right? If you've had either a huge meal or especially if you've had a very high carbohydrate meal. So those two factors will be different for everybody, but those two factors can cause that lethargic and that sleepy feeling because your digestive system requires a lot of resources to break it down, right? The bigger the meal, the more resources your body's going to need, and when it draws that blood from the rest of the body, well, your brain's at the top, it draws it down, so it's quite an extensive process to break that down so you can keep moving through. And so that's what you're experiencing when maybe it's Easter lunch or a birthday, family meal time, family lunch I should say, for the holidays, for Christmas, and then everyone eats a big ass lunch, then by 2 or 3 o'clock everyone's ready for a nap. Everyone's, like Nan's falling asleep in the frickin' chair, kids are passing out all over the place, and you're ready to go sneak off for a nap. That's what's happening there. Especially if you have a huge amount of carbs, that spike in carbs will eventually convert into L-tryptophan, and then eventually, I believe that is L-tryptophan, which later in the day will increase melatonin as well. So this is why we suggest to a lot of people to have those carbs later in the day, so that you can utilize that mechanism to enhance your ability to fall asleep, right? But only if that's applicable to you. If you have no issues getting to sleep, then you don't need to worry about that. So something else to consider why you may have that crash in energy. And so there are a lot of the biggest reasons why someone would not have energy. Oh, and hydration, of course. If you're not drinking enough water. I was skeptical about this myself as well, but when I was starting to reduce my caffeine, when I was drinking 10 shots of coffee a day, like a lot, dude, all in extra strong long blacks too, mind you. So I was wide to the hills. And so when I was reducing that, I started swapping my first coffee in the morning, which was literally within 5 minutes of waking up, for a litre of water. I would drink a litre of salted water and have half a lemon, and I noticed my mental clarity was so much better. My ability to think, my brain fog was gone so much faster. I didn't even have the craving for coffee anymore because I felt so much clearer in the head. Right, so that brain fog, that tired, that that tiredness kind of behind your eyes that you get, that was gone purely from just rehydrating first thing in the morning. So highly recommend getting that liter of water in, within that first 30 minutes of waking up before you have anything else. That'll be A, amazing for your brain function, B, amazing for your digestive system, and it'll help you to kind of flush everything out that your body's kind of accumulated in terms of like metabolic waste, or just general wastage in the body throughout your 8 hour sleep. Cool. And so the next piece on energy. Now we've gone through all the stuff that is probably slowing you down. Here's a few things that you can do to boost that energy, and a few things that I do to boost that energy. So obviously it's number one is like the reverse of everything that we just said. So optimize your sleep. Make sure you put measures in place to handle that stress. Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're looking after your diet. Make sure that you're getting movement in, at least your steps on a daily basis, if not your exercise and weights, all that good stuff, and getting time outside as well. Vitamin D is amazing for that, because think of energy as like a great sign of like your holistic health. So a lot of guys especially will talk about like, oh, I want to have more testosterone. Like I posted something up the other day, my testosterone is sitting at 36.3, which is, the reference range, the highest end is 29. So it's well above that, completely natural. And I'm not doing anything specific to increase my testosterone. I'm just doing all these little things that enhance my overall health, and that's just a byproduct of having optimal health, is optimal hormones. Like, who would have thought, right? And so when you start with the root cause, when you start at the base level of your health, everything improves, right? So here's a few things that you can do to increase your energy. In the short term, like you want to get hyped up for a training or hyped up for something right now. In the short term, what you can do. One, as a supplement, take cordyceps. Cordyceps or brain juice. Brain juice has cordyceps in it if you're not steering away from the stimulants, but something like that can really help. Another option is breath work. Think like your Wim Hof, your fire breath type thing, which is very pace. So with breath work, think about the inhale is like up, the exhale is down. So if you're trying to come up, you want to lift your energy, you want to raise your vibration, you want to focus on the inhale. So it's very short, sharp. It's going to bring you up. Be very cautious though. If you're an anxious person or have panic attacks or anything like that, probably don't do that one, because that's essentially eliciting a panic attack. Which, if that's like dangerous for you, please don't do that. All right. But then if you focus on the exhale, like your exhale is longer than your inhale. Your exhale is related to your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest, like your calm state. So you just keep breathing, focusing on the exhale, and that will tell your body to calm down, to be nice and neutral, to be calm. It's all good, don't stress, settle down. Right? Those couple things. Next one, to boost your energy and your focus. Do something that forces you to be present in what you're doing. This is more focus than energy, but I think it'll be helpful for some people. That forces you to be present. Like if you have to balance on something, like you get a balance board, you go skating maybe, you do a handstand, funnily enough, you jump on a trampoline, you do a lot of these things. It helps to bring circulation through your body, get you pumped up. If you ever done that, been to a seminar, everyone's like, all right, everyone's getting a bit sleepy, everybody up. They'll make you jump around, do some star jumps, do some burpees, do things like that, get that blood pumping. Yeah, do that. Get something that gets your blood going, whether it's burpees, whether it's a jog on the spot, whether it's on a mini trampoline, do a handstand, get that blood flowing. That'll really help. I also have the luxury of kind of working at home, so an ice bath really wakes me up as well. I find that incredibly helpful for recovery, but mostly for mental resilience. And so, especially when it comes to energy, getting out of that thing, I feel electrified. I feel so ready, so switched on, so energized to just go and get stuff done, that it's more than a coffee or more than anything else has ever done for me. That's why I absolutely love it. And there's no crash, there's no come downs or anything like that from it. So I highly recommend an ice bath, or at least cold showers or cold therapy, whatever you've got available to you. Next, getting enough sun, right? Getting, at least in the winter, you want to aim for like an hour a day with as much skin exposure as you possibly can. And vitamin D supplements are going to be highly beneficial as well. If you want, probably go get a blood test as well, just to make sure. But vitamin D is very hard to overdose on. But make sure that when you do take it, or if you take it, you are also taking it with a source of fat, because vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. So without consuming it with a fat source, you won't be able to absorb any of it. So if you're having, just either have it with a meal, make sure you have it early in the day as well, otherwise it can disrupt your sleep. Have it early in the day, have it with your breakfast. Now that you're having a nice high protein, high fat breakfast, it'll work really well for you. And so the third thing, and this is something that I don't think is accentuated or prioritized enough when it comes to energy, and this is purpose. Having a why to what you're doing. Because, and I'm sure you've met people like this before. Like, you've met someone that maybe doesn't have the best health, they don't go to the gym, they don't eat very well, they're a little bit overweight, and they don't have the best sleeping habits. They're always working, they're always grinding, they're always doing something, but they can just go, right? Like, their ability to work is like 100 hours a week, like insane type of hours, but they can just go and go and go and go. And you're like, how the fuck are they doing this? Like, Harry just told me all these things I need to be healthy to optimize my energy, but this guy is like, he doesn't meet any of that criteria. Purpose. For people like that, when you have a strong enough purpose, you will do anything to get it done, right? You will forego sleep. You will not look after your diet. You will not go to the gym, look after your health. You can go through anything to get this done, because that goal, that purpose is so much bigger than anything else. You will make it happen. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter what you think you want. Doesn't matter if you feel like it. Doesn't matter if it's a Sunday. Doesn't matter if you feel like you want a day off. Doesn't matter if you're tired. Does not matter. Get that shit done. Like, that internal drive will push those people as much as they need to get the job done. And then I'm sure you've seen people on the other end of the spectrum where they, their health's not that bad. They're not really overweight. They're not like ripped and jacked, but they're not really overweight. And health and stuff is like not too bad, right? Definitely seen worse. But they're just so lethargic and slow and down, and like just kind of like just flow through. I wouldn't even say flow. They kind of just get pushed through life. Like, they go to this job that they don't really care about. They come home to a family that doesn't really excite them, and they're just like, oh, hey, how's it going? It's just like very repetitive and mundane and monotonous and fucking boring, right? And so for those people, it's like, well, what do you need energy for? Like, what is there to be excited about, right? And so if that's you, what is your purpose? What are you doing this for? Why are you going to work every day? Why are you going to this job? If you hate this job so much and it sucks the soul out of you, why are you doing it? What are you doing this for? Find something that energizes you and motivates you to go. If you're doing it for the money, cool, get better and earn more money. Or find something else that uplifts your soul and your spirit so that you can have more energy. Because, especially if it's a job that you're doing at bare minimum, probably 38 hours a week, that's a big chunk of your week to spend doing something that demotivates you, that zaps your energy, that zaps your soul and your spirit and inspiration, and then you come home as this soulless, uninspired, down partner, husband, wife, dad, mum, whatever, and bring that energy into the home, and what? Expect them to lift you up? That's not fair. And so, finding purpose for what you do. It doesn't have to be, oh, I want to change the world and I want to do this and I want to do that. Have a reason, right? Humans are great at making up reasons and giving meaning to shit that doesn't matter to anybody else. So find a reason that you want to have this energy, that you want to be your best, that you want to make that money, that you want to live that life, that you want to create these opportunities for yourself, for your business, for your partner, for your kids, for your family, for whatever it is. Like, whatever it is that inspires you. right? I have always had this like just burning desire just to be better. Hence the name of the podcast, right? And health being my number one value, I'm happy to do all this weird shit. To like my wife is going to make a video one day of all the weird shit that she says that I do, and just to see how many who else can kind of relate to that, because she thinks not many, but I don't think it's that weird. But frankly, I don't care, right? And so find something that pushes you in the right direction of where you want to go that feels effortless, right? If making money is your biggest goal, if having impact is your biggest goal, if being fitter is your main goal for the season of life that you're in right now, find ways that you like to do that stuff, right? Find a purpose for it and find a way that aligns with you, and it will become so much easier to do that. And now I'm going to wrap this up. I apologize if I was speaking too fast during this. I don't know if you guys can tell, when I get excited, I talk really fast, and it sounds like I'm walking uphill if you're listening to me. So I apologize that I'm not running, I'm not doing anything appropriate. I'm just excited. So if this was helpful, please drop a comment on this. Send me a message, like what was something that you can take away from this, that you can change to have more energy, so that you can get more done, live as a person and the life that you want to design as well, not by default. And if you want more info on this, if you want more info on how to optimize your energy, how to look after your sleep, your stress, all that good stuff that I spoke about today, then either drop me an email or a message. You can join our school community, which has like resources like this, and I'm going to keep adding to those. Or if you want more personalized help, then let's have a chat. We'll have a free phone call to see if what I do is even able to help you, and maybe coaching is an option. But otherwise, I've got stacks of free resources on Instagram, in the school community, everywhere. Go check them out if that's what you're looking for. And if you do, give me some feedback. Let me know how you go, what changes and what works for you. And I can't wait to hear those wins. Remember guys, don't be sorry, be better, get energized, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.